Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin is the current president of the Russian Federation. In recent months, we haven't stopped finding news with his name due to his military deployment in Ukraine and his threats to NATO. Today, we tell you about his drama life. He was born on October 7, 1952 in Leningrad. His mother was a factory worker and his father was a conscript in the Soviet Navy. In 1960, he began his studies at a school that was close to his home. He combined teaching with the practice of Sambo and Judo. In addition, he also studied German, becoming his second language. He entered university and studied law, graduating in 1975. That same year, Putin joined the Committee for State Security, better known as the KGB. He was trained in one of its schools in Leningrad, and later worked in the Second General Directorate of Counterintelligence. From 1985 to 1990, he served in Dresden, East Germany, using a cover identity as a translator. The German Democratic Republic, GDR, a communist state located in the Soviet zone of influence after the defeat of the Nazis, was very important to Moscow and was full of spies and military men. Putin was sent by the KGB with his family. They could live in East Germany, living in a building with other agents of the KGB and the Ministry for State Security, better known as Stasi. Over time, it was revealed that Putin worked as a spy for the KGB and his job was illegal intelligence gathering. However, when the Berlin Wall fell and the people became more powerful, the crowd stormed the Stasi headquarters without their agents being able to do anything. They arrived at the large building that housed the KGB office in the city, and Putin shouted at them not to try to enter the property because his men were authorized to use weapons. So the people began to disperse. In the city, there were several tanks, and Vladimir was convinced that the Soviet officers wouldn't hesitate to go into action. But no, Moscow was silent, and the Red Army tanks didn't go out in the street. Nobody protected the KGB agents, so inside the building, Putin and his colleagues spent the night burning documents, especially contacts of informants they had recruited. Putin himself claimed that they burned so many things that the furnace exploded. He returned to his old city, only to find a country that was on the brink of collapse and had radically changed. He worked for a few months with the International Affairs section of the University of Leningrad. There, he sought out new KGB recruits, observed his students, and renewed friendship with his former teacher, Anatoly Sobchak, who would soon be mayor of Leningrad and appointed advisor on international affairs. In 1996, Sobchak lost his bid for re-election and Putin resigned from his positions in the city administration. He moved to Moscow, and in 1997, President Boris Yeltsin appointed him Deputy Chief of the Presidential General Staff, and in 1998, Director of the Federal Security Service, SFS, the successor to the old KGB. In 1999, he was appointed Prime Minister by President Yeltsin, who also announced that he wanted to see him as his successor. That same day, Putin agreed to run for the presidency. On December 31st of that same year, President Yeltsin unexpectedly resigned from office. And according to the Russian constitution, Putin was to become interim president. In his first presidential decree, he ensured that guarantees be offered for the former president, and that corruption charges involving the Yeltsin family be dropped. In addition, he formed the abandonment of a criminal investigation in which Putin himself was one of the suspects. Putin won the presidential elections of 2000. The first 4 years, he wanted to improve the economic situation of the country, reaching a deal with Russian oligarchs, allowing them to have most of their powers in exchange for their support in the government. In 2004, he was elected again for a second time. And in 2008, he couldn't be president again because it was against the constitution. So his prime minister, Medvedev, was chosen as his successor, and only one day after handing him the presidency, Putin was appointed Prime Minister of Russia, maintaining his political dominance. Medvedev officially proposed that Putin run for president again in 2012, to which he accepted. After the elections, thousands of Russians participated in protests against alleged electoral fraud. The opposition accused Putin and his group of irregularities. Despite everything, Putin became president again in 2012, and again in 2018. In 2020, he signed an order amending the Russian constitution, allowing him to run for 2 more 6-year terms, in addition to a bill that grants procedural immunity for life to former Russian presidents. After several revolutions with Ukraine, where Putin had seized the eastern regions of the nation and annexed Crimea, in February 2022, he launched a war to seize control of the rest of the country and topple his government. This invasion of Ukraine unfortunately continues today, causing global panic of a possible Third World War. The invasion was internationally condemned and sanctions were imposed against Russia and against Putin himself. The war hasn't stopped since then. From here, we stand in solidarity with all the victims and their families. Paradoxically, among many other distinctions, Putin was nominated 3 times for the Nobel Peace Prize. We look forward to the peace that we all long for. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!